Hello, I'm Dale Matthews, and I'm joined, of course, by Mike Jones and also by Bill Hunker because this is Friday. Bill Hunker.
Yes, and he's not on screen yet. Yes.
Friday Bill, I guess it is, huh?
Fridays with Bill Hunker.
Okay.
Hunker
So
and down with Bill
the
Hunker.
the main reason we wanted to get together with you tonight is that when this gathering happened, that was about something on Wednesday night, you didn't get a chance to see the slides that were being projected because there's really just so much that we can do, and it was an experiment that was a complete success, but we had to have a wide shot of everything except for Mike and myself, and so we had a wide shot of Bill and Joseph. Joseph was kind of, way up here, and Bill was down here, and that was sort of hard to do perfectly, and because we didn't have 16 cameras. We only had 4. And then when we're shooting out into the audience, there were people that kept ducking because we were shooting, really shooting, and they were trying not to get injured. And so when we pointed out there, that wasn't perfect, but there wasn't any opportunity unless somebody held up a pocket mirror for us to see the slides, and then they all would have looked like crime was increasing instead of decreasing. So because it's a mirror, you see. So what we're going to do. Yes, thank you very much, Bill. Mike never does. So what we're going to do this evening is Bill's going to do. He's going to tell us about these slides. We're going to talk a little bit about the facts and figures that we have. And isn't it amazing that for reasons that just defy understanding, that the pro-Levy people, they call themselves pro-Levy people, that the pro-Levy people, they don't seem to want to look at any facts and figures. I mean, the facts and figures are bugging them, so they say, oh, well, the facts and figures don't make any difference at all, including Scott Draper, who said the fact that we've got millions of dollars coming in, it doesn't make any difference at all. Scott, really? Okay, and then the people who are not pro-Levy people, we won't call them anything except not the pro-Levy people, they, what, Mike? They have all the facts and figures. This is weird. So we're going to share some of the facts and figures so that you can see them, and then you make up your own mind, and you can be foolish or not. It's up to you. So so Mike, do you wish to put up the first slide so Bill can start talking about it?
Sure, absolutely.
We could do it that way.
That's what I will do.
Drop your lower third.
When I see the slide here, I go, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Joko alert.
Drop your lower third.
Hey.
Well,
Dale. Easy there, pal.
The thing here on the beginning, and I think this is very important for the whole rest of the discussion, is Joko is not against public safety. This is not about we don't want a sheriff or patrols or deputies or anything. Not at all about we're against public safety, and we support both the sheriff and the sheriff's office mission. But we, in doing our homework, believe that this is the wrong tax levy, and also the timing for this is wrong. But the wrong tax levy. There may be a tax levy out there that's ideal, or in fact there is, but people have got to come to the table, and it isn't this tax levy. People not at the table on this one, and that becomes evident as you go through it. So let's go on to sort of some of the crime stats that we start with, and then we'll get into the timing and the issues on the levy after we go through some of the crime stats. So we're over there on Oregon and United States, right?
Yeah, hang on.
Hanging on.
There we go.
All right. I put this one up, and we all did, because there's a tendency to believe that we're talking just about Josephine County, and that we may be making something up or adding to, or maybe we're a unique and unusual county. But when you go back to the FBI Uniform Crime Stats for the whole United States, which is in this one a blue line, the crime peaked in 1991 and has been going gradually down ever since. So today, it is half of what it was in 1991. Now, that's all crimes. That could include property and small crimes and big crimes and victim crimes of all kinds, but it is all crime. when you look at the red line, that is Oregon State. That is the whole state, all 36 counties, and we peaked in 1988. Actually, it was interesting. We were high in 86, went down a little bit in 87, and then back up to our all-time peak in 88. And we've been down, steady ahead by jerks all the way down to where we are now. And that is also almost exactly half of our peak in Oregon State. So when we look at other crime stats coming to the county, it's not unusual. In fact, it would be unusual if they weren't going down. We would be highly different than either the state of Oregon or the federal. So let's go on and see where our crime is in our county, and that would be number 7.
Okay.
All right.
And we have this is the slide that has the city of Grants Pass says 80% of crime occurs in the city of Grants Pass, and we throw that up there just to implant it in your brain, and we go on to the next slide, which shows the property crime reduced by 49% between 95 and 2012.
And let me point out that, folks, we are in 3 different locations. So, and then the slides are kind of on their own. They're in Washington, D.C. or Bolivia or something. So, we're not all looking at exactly the same things. We're going to do the best that we can, and it's a free show, so don't stop complaining.
That's right, yeah. Turn off your television set. Okay, this is property crime. This 49% from 95 to 2012. We're looking at property crimes, and the blue, all the blue bars are talking about just the city of Grants Pass, which we just mentioned was 80% of the crime that occurs in Josephine County in the area of Grants Pass. So here is the actual breakout of how crime has gone down in just Grants Pass from 95 to 2012. And it's 49%. And what you have to really say there is kudos to the Grants Pass Police Department. They've actually, as you look at just the graph alone, have gone down fairly steadily. A couple of little times pop back up a little bit and down. And as you see, the last 2 bars are slightly up, but nowhere close to what they were back 10 and 15 years ago. So I give kudos to the fact that Grants Pass has reached by 49%. So let's look then at Josephine County.
Okay, and that shows
in Josephine County, we are 20% of all the county that are all crime that occurs in the county. So it makes sense. The 80-20 rule applies here. And let's go on to the specifics of just the crime in the county in property. And the reason we've chosen property here is there's almost no one that disagrees that our violent crime is not an issue. Our violent crime is very manageable. It's well below the Oregon State median. And I don't hear people complaining about the fact that, we've got to bring down violent crime. What I hear is we've got to bring down property crime. And so they're saying not that violent crime has gone up, but property crime has gone up. So I honed in on just that. So here you see kind of a little up and down. The high in the county was in 1995. And then between 95 and 2012, they had a 46% reduction. So they also did quite a good job over the years bringing crime down right along with the city. So that's so when we look at the 2 together, and that will be back to you, Mike, and we'll look at one on top. You'll see a blue bar, and then you'll see the red bars tucked down in between. And that would be what would be the difference between property crimes in the county and property crimes in the city. The red is the county, the blue is the city.
One of the things that's really interesting to me about this, Bill, and I know there are some people who say there's no connection between the Grants Pass level of crime and the Josephine County level of crime. Well, we can see that there is a connection, that as the Grants Pass level of crime has been slowly going down, then so has the county level of crime. And for us to have a spike with only the county, that wouldn't match with all those previous years, And we can see as we look back at years where Sheriff Gil Gilbertson was saying crime is spiking, that it, according to this graph, it was not. So it's like one is affecting the other, or that they're somehow married together. So really would be weird if suddenly one of them comes completely disconnected from any relationship with the other and goes shooting through the roof. It's apparently not happening. And look, the other thing is, if it's true that no crimes are being reported in the county at all, which the sheriff disputes, okay, he says, hey, don't say that about us. If it's true that there are none, why does it look pretty much the same?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it surprised me because I drilled down on each of these individually and didn't put them together until I began to get all of the figures. But what is very surprising, and I just went back to 2000 in this case for myself to see what was the percentage between the two. You know, it varies less than 1% plus and minus, with the exception of 1 year, and that's 2005. We've got a 19, a 21, a 19, a 19, a 20, a 20, a 20, an 18, a 20, a 20, a 20, a 20.
So these,
that's for 2005.
So it's so close as to be really predictable, so that if somehow we ended up with city numbers or county numbers, we could kind of extrapolate from that what the other number was, just by virtue of the fact that these hold so tight.
Yeah, you would be within plus or minus like a 1.5,
right?
In 3% if you just knew either one of those figures.
And please notice we've had a number of levies that have been that we've been told are absolutely essential. I mean, every time it's absolutely essential. Of course, we're falling off a cliff. Everything. People are killing each other in the streets. They're stealing your baby. Now they've been saying this for years. Okay. The thing is, if you could somehow go back at that time, because this is the first time we've seen these. There's another question about why is this the first time we've seen these. But when you go back and look at that whole time that's on there. Okay, yesterday isn't on here, come on. But if you go back and look at that, we weren't experiencing any more. In fact, it was going down. And the weirdest thing of all to me is it seems like every time we said no, we're not going to vote for a levy, the crime rate went down.
There, you know, statistically, it absolutely has. It's gone down generally every year. A couple of years you get a little tick up, and then it'll drop a little more and go down. But when you look at, 95 back or 97 back, I mean, 49% is almost half the crime. I mean, you want to say 100% improvement if you want to look at it that way.
So
but it
Dale,
is going down.
You know, by that logic, we should basically disband the sheriff's department and, get the police to start trying to come over to our way of thinking and just hand out clubs to people. And
I am not saying that. That's a little funny, and I originally brought up the idea. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying,
I'm using the commissioner's logic, because if you can create 240 jobs by building a wheelchair ramp, then why can't you do? I mean, listen, if that logic works for them, then this ought to work for us.
You stole my joke.
Mike just found your soundbite for K-Joe.
Dang it! You stole my joke. I was going to say that. If we can create by putting up one plaque on a rock in Cave Junction and generate 90 full-time family wage jobs after the plaque goes on the rock, which the commissioners, they don't want to talk about this now because they got hit so much the last time. If that's the case, then we should do nothing but put plaques on every rock in town, and the same thing goes right here. If it's true that the crime rate's going down as we keep saying no, that can't be right. That's just ridiculous. But there is some correlation. I mean, the main point is that when Gil Gilbertson came in and said, we're going to spend 4 years of funding in 3 years, and he did, I was there. Everybody was there. Okay, the only person that doesn't remember what happened is Rika Brown, and well, you know why she doesn't remember. But the thing is that, with the sheriff saying that, we were falling off a cliff. Everything is going to hell in a handbasket. Why we need to do this? And that was 2009.
You know what? I have to wonder what he perceived as being the emergency.
That question of perception is so interesting because we just recently had the police chief. I like the guy, but he was telling us a story, and you've seen the video. It's up on our site where the police chief is saying, it's on the front page of our site. He's saying, well, when they opened up the be patient with us, people who are following everything. Not everybody is, but when he said when they opened up the jail, we were running our wheels off of our cars and we were arresting people right and left, and we were so busy. And then he tells us that they looked back and said, you know what? No, we weren't. What? No, we weren't. Here's the question. Yeah. How did they develop this perception? They're fooling themselves. That's his story, not ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're reading their own stories.
I'm throwing up the next slide, which is combined city and county total crime.
Okay. That gives you a better idea of the difference between the two. Now, remember, this is just property crime we're looking at.
No, this is total crime.
No, this is total crime. The previous
this is total crime. I'm sorry.
The one we were just looking at was the combo of property crime. This is combo county city total crime.
All right, and that combo, what's interesting visually there is you'll see that instead of the property crimes being a little higher and curving up toward the bottom comparatively, it shows in total crime that the county, it kind of just keeps going down. Our last 2 years that we have, which are 11 and 12, don't start to arch up like they did a little bit in just property crime. So we're keeping a very, very straight ratio of a 20-80 split as you see this move on. So that's important. Go
ahead.
What's that?
A real important point about this is a lot of the movers and shakers that are involved in this, the biggest ones are actually in city or county government, okay? And we already know the unions are involved here. Use our phone bank. We know that. But the people who are pushing the hardest for this are in the city. But the city has the most police. They say, I guess they say, that they're fully funded for police. Oh, those county people, they're not doing their fair share. You know what? It looks like the county's, I live in the city, but it looks like the county's fair share is a small portion of what's happening with the city.
And the county also pays 58% of the, it's either 54 or 58% of all of the taxes. In addition, and I looked that up through the county assessor. I wish I had it right in front of me, but I know it's
really.
Isn't that interesting?
Now we're going to look here. Here's what we do. Careful, everybody, and the people that are watching. What we do is we tell you what we believe is correct, and then we give you a warning. We're going to double, triple check that, and then we bring the facts to you when we know them for sure, and then we stand behind them. We're not afraid to do so.
And we beat you over the head with them.
Yes, we do. So you will hear more about this later.
You know, this is so intense for stats and numbers and figures, and I've got a lot in my head, and so I always want to qualify that was I read that within the last week. I don't have it in front of me. I would be glad to quote it from the assessor's office if I did. So that is a memory for me, but I'm in there in the ballpark, and you know, I love it when people go, this is all on the internet. This is not magic. Go on the internet, find out for yourself exactly what it is, and correct me. I would love that. Now we have two of us doing research.
Okay, now we come into the taxes portion of the this presentation, and I'm flashed on the taxes slide and moving on to the new federal taxes in 2015. We're passing that by, and then we're coming to.
Pay?
Yes. What do you pay?
Okay. Right. Yes. What do you pay? We're there on what do you pay. The whole reason for this and doing a little breakout is that we hear continuously about 58 cents. We're paying 58 cents, and that's not enough, and we need to pay $1.40 on top of that, which brings us to $1.98, and that's what we're paying, or whatever. the truth of the matter is, when you write your check out, you don't write out $1.98 and other checks. You write one check. It's called taxes. And there are a lot of elements that make it up. One of the elements, one of the smaller elements actually, is the 58 cents. But your tax check is going to include them all. So we've included and this is direct from the assessor's office, the highest possible place you could live in this county is in the city of Grants Pass with, I don't remember what school district, but with school district and so forth. You are paying $12.58 now. If you want this levy to pass and you want to pay more, you will be paying $13.98 per thousand when you write your check. And I think I understand the semantics. I don't know all about the permanent tax base and all of that. But the real person writing the check, that's irrelevant when they write out the big number. Part of the reason we say 58 cents is because we are the lowest of that little number in any place in Oregon called a permanent tax base, and I think that's terrific. I think it brings people to us. I think it's something we can crow about. But when you get over here that you move into the city of Grants Pass as opposed to out in Josephine County, which is the bottom number, $6, you're paying double.
Right.
So the 58 cents relates to almost nothing other than the linguistics of taxing.
Yes.
And so you're going to, if you're going to come to the county, by the way, move out in Josephine County, out in the area, and you'll at least get in at the $6 rate. Don't move into the city of Grants Pass if you're trying to save on taxes.
Okay, now wait a minute, Bill. Wait a minute. You said something about it being almost double. That's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing $6 Josephine County versus $7.40. By any estimation, sorry, bud, that's not double.
Okay, where are you seeing what to what? Josephine County
well,
bottom
on the top,
$6.
I'm seeing City of Grants Pass was $12.58, would be $13.98. On the bottom, I'm seeing Josephine County was $6, would be $7.40. Not happy with that, but that's not almost double. What does that mean then that you're saying?
Well,
that means you shouldn't vote for the levy.
Yeah.
No, Dale, look, the 740 number and the 1398 number, that is almost double of what you'd be paying in the county.
Yeah, if you go over to the 1258, what you're currently paying, whether or not there's a levy voted in or not, you're paying out in the county $6, and in the city of Grants Pass you're paying $12.58. So the 6 and 6 are 12. That's more than double.
Yeah, that's right. That's how I.
Then if you add the $1.40, you go to the red numbers. So that would be after a levy. So
look, the fact that I asked that question, I just want people to know that are watching this or from whatever side you're on, we're not just sitting back here going, oh, okay. Oh, it's all perceptions? Oh, that's okay with me. It's not okay with me. And so when we see something, we're going to ask a question. That's what we do.
Oh.
Absolutely fair.
If you don't want to ask questions, go to Kjo.
Everybody honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you're paying what you're paying now and what you're going to pay for the levy is a significant jump per thousand, going from $12.58 to almost $14, and then 6 cents or 4 cents to $14. That's a jump, and it's not 58 cents. Times 240%. Yes, on that particular figure, but your real write my checkout figures are over here on the left, and then when they redeem with the levy on the right in red. So let's assume that you want to know about the levy that you're about to pay $1.40 a thousand for. So we got that tax levy 1766?
Yes, sir.
All right. That's just to introduce the next one, which is $1.40 is what they're asking for. The very first thing I would say is we want to know what we're paying for. What are we getting? We're going to be giving money, and I consider that we're the bank as the taxpayers, and they are coming to us and saying we want money. And I would like to say, all right, what are you going to use your money for? The money I'm going to give you. I have both a right to know and a fiduciary responsibility as a owner or part of this county's government.
Right.
So the thing they've said is we're to give you 16 patrol deputies. I think that's a good thing. We could have more patrol deputies. They could be out and about. What they don't mention, however, is this 16 new patrol deputies? Are we hiring 16 new people? Or is this going to include the 4 or 5, I'm not positive who we have as patrol deputies now, is that included, and we're only going to hire 12? So we don't know that. And if we got 16 patrol deputies, are they going to be in places around the county where our response time is going to be different? If they're all housed where they are now, that will make no difference in our response time. Even if we had 50 of them, they put them in one place. So we don't know where they're going to be. I do know the sheriff would like to have resident deputies in 3 areas, and I'm all for that. I think that that's a great thing. It will cut down on response time, except when they're not available, during the night and so forth. So we're looking at 16 patrol deputies.
By the way, Bill is not the only one that's asking this question about if a levy were to pass, will it be money added on to what the sheriff currently has? Would it be added on to what the sheriff will have after this money from the feds come in? Will it replace what the sheriff currently has? He's not the only one asking that question. We are not getting clear answers from anybody.
Well, we're not getting even any answers on that particular one. We're currently out of our 58 cents, which is, to be clear, the 58 cents is the money that our government has at its disposal to do what they want with. Other things are dedicated funds, and they often do not control in any way, such as school districts and so forth, that kind of thing. They don't control it. They do have the 58 cents at their control. We're in essence telling them we're going to give them $1.98 at their control. And they're promising through a magic series of events that they will do the $1 to the sheriff. But what that leaves is they've been giving 31 cents of the 58 cents for years now to the sheriff's department. There's not a word been said of what will happen to that 38 cents once a levy would pass.
Now, this is a really important point. Go ahead. This is a really important point, everybody. It's really important.
Yeah,
the commissioners are not talking about this in public. However, at least one of them behind the scenes is saying to people that he is convinced that we need to give the sheriff's department whatever comes out of the levy only, and that the rest of it, while a number of us may like to think he's going to get the levy plus the new money that's coming in, of course they'd like to think that, and there's a reason that you're not getting confirmed or denied. What they'd like to do, according to this source, is the commissioners would like to take the rest of it that was going to the sheriff, and then they get to spend it the way that they want to.
Well, that's exactly what happened with the animal shelter. The animal shelter raised 8 cents, as you know, a year ago per thousand, and they were able to fund the animal shelter with that money. In the county charter, it says we're to fund the animal shelter through our 58 cents, through our county funds, the general fund.
No.
And so the $75,000.
No. It says animal control. Sorry, bud.
This is animal control. Did I say something else?
You said shelter.
Oh, I'm sorry. Animal control, yes. There's a difference there. They had been getting, animal control, been getting $75,000 from the general fund, and when the levy passed for the 8 cents, that 75 never happened again for them. They are running off of the 8 cents, and that 75 disappeared back into the general fund, and nothing was ever said about, oh, by the way, we'll use that 75 for this or for X. So again, we're not fostering trust with, hey, we gave you some more money. What did you do with the old money you were usually putting there? Not a word. And so my guess is that you watch people's behavior, not their words. And last year they did that with the animals. They'll do that with the deputies and the sheriff's office with what they're doing with the $1.40.
I think that's a pretty good bet.
Yep.
Yeah, and no one's pressing for an answer on that I know in public, certainly, and I've never heard a word officially. I've never seen any paper. I've never heard a word of hey, what's going to happen to that 31 cents? So,
have you ever heard us pressing for? Have you ever heard us pressing for answers at the weekly business session? I get criticized by a lot of people. You're pressing for answers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's weekly business session is a great place to get acquainted with our county. It helps give you shorthand for the future on how things really are going, and it doesn't take many sessions there to make activists out of some of this.
Yeah. Well, as they said the last weekly business session, Mike and I were talking about it. You probably spend all week long preparing your lies. You know what? That doesn't make for a very friendly environment for the public, especially when we have the tape and your documents and testimony.
Yeah, it's and I see this. Unfortunately, I don't see the trust building there. I don't see an effort to do it. When I hear that the Cuffs people have gone to commissioners that please do not say anything about our levy, do not applaud it, then you know that they don't want them associated because they've been told you will pull the public perception down, because the public has got a lot of problems with the trust.
Yes, and not only that, they polled it. You know, I mean, they know this because they asked the questions. Do you trust these guys? They had to ask that, otherwise they wouldn't have originated with that. I don't.
They spent money to find out that people have trouble believing the commissioners. They spent money to find that out. Yes. You know, we could have told them that for free.
Yeah, no,
could have saved them something there.
Yeah, I would have charged them something. You know, I tell you what, give me half. I'll tell you what you need to know.
I don't want to skip by on this patrol deputies. Yeah, I don't know what's still up or not, but I want to go to the detectives, because this is a very important point. The continuing cry is we have property crime, and we do have property crime like Jackson does, and incidentally, Jackson's number 2 property crime in 2012. We were number 7. Lane County was number 5. Douglas was down, I think, a little bit, right around 13. But all 3 of the counties here, Douglas, Josephine, and Jackson, are at a 5-year high for property crime. Well, I end up putting that right over in economics, personally, and we can talk about that later. But the way you solve property crime is don't get a patrolman out there coming in as a second responder after the crime has occurred and taking the report. That's an important part. But what really has to happen is you have detectives who end up sorting all these property crime reports, looking into what's creating them, and attempting to take multiple people or multiple crimes happening by 1 or 2 or 5 or 10, multiple offenders. Those are the way you're going to stop some property crime. The economic issue it's a much larger issue, but you'll find people who have found they can make a living with property crime. They don't quit. They continue on, and they do crime after crime after crime in the county. And the detectives are the ones that tail that, find that, make the case for it, and get arrests to happen. It isn't patrol fees. Now, once in a while, I'm sure that they happen onto a crime or in the direct vicinity, and you know, good. That's great, and that's also a part of their job. But it isn't their job to take old reports and sort through them and go find and looking and talking and everything. That's detectives. There's not a single thing in here about detectives for what they're asking for.
So when you
if you want property crime to go down, get detectives.
So when you hear it said at this meeting that you probably watched the 2 hours, or at least part of it, when you hear Bill Hunker and Joseph Rice saying, you know, this is not the right levy, one of the reasons for that is, you know, if you think that property crime is decreasing but still is a little too high for you, okay, you'll make up your mind, you'll do the cost-benefit analysis, but if you think that this levy, this particular levy, is then going to save you because it's going to have detectives,
Nope, no detectives in this one. And that's particularly property crime dependent. That isn't, the detectives certainly can do something with victim crime and so forth, but property crime, it takes slogging through the records, it this may take weeks and months in some cases, but ultimately you can find one person who's committed multiple crimes and really make a dent in weeks to months. So, okay, let's move on, because the $1.40 isn't going just to patrol deputies. It is also going to, in parentheses, in the petition, it says, including patrol cars. So are we somewhere close there?
Yeah, we're on the page now.
On the page, okay. This one's an interesting one to me, because the way they wrote it, and I don't know whether it was on purpose or not, but they say provide funding for 16 sheriff's deputies, parens, including patrol cars, and parens. Does that mean 16 new cars?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does it mean 8 new cars because they'll send them out 2 by 2, and maybe a 9th car because they need a backup? I don't know that. When are they going to buy these? Will they buy these on July 2 when they get the funding, and will they buy 16, or will they buy 2 that year and 2 every year? We don't know. Yeah. What is the cost? Are they buying Falcons, or are they buying $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 SUVs? We don't know that. And as someone has said, when you buy the car, it does not come with the computer and all of the communication equipment. So there's costs on top of that. I don't think, by the way, it is any accident that we ended up having in the CUS donations virtually every car dealer in town. I thought that was almost humorous, that you say, well, gee, I wonder why all the car people donated $2,500 each. Yeah. And you say, oh, you know what, just roughly figuring off cars, just between $500,000 and $1 million, depending, for cars going to be bought in this county. So all of a sudden that mysterious question was answered.
Now, before you toss this off, in the audience, before you toss this off, think about a couple different things on this. You saw recently how the U.S. Forest Service vehicle was in a ditch or something. There was some article in something that purports to be a newspaper locally, and it says on there something like that this vehicle is worth $130,000 or whatever. Really? And the other thing is, you need to remember. Do you remember when the last time we went out and we were looking at the fleet and trying to investigate how they were dealing with our vehicles, that when we arrived they had switched the license plates, so we weren't looking at the vehicles under question? One thing you should ask yourself is, who's going to switch the license plates? Who's going to be in charge of the maintenance of these cars? Do we really need, I mean, I want them to be safe, but I don't know about you, but 90,000 miles, that we just put so many hard miles on it. You're not supposed to be engaging in high-speed chases, remember? So what's the deal on this? I mean, really, this is part of the hidden costs.
It is real interesting that they also had a whole lot of, I don't want to call them mothball fleet, but they ended up selling cars off. Well, I want to know, did they keep the computers and the tech equipment out of that, the communication equipment, so they can put it in other cars, or did that all go away? And if it didn't, if they kept that, why aren't they saying those things? Hey, to save you money, we kept all the computers and we're going to install them in the new cars. We don't hear anything.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what the commissioner said at the very beginning when those cars were being mothballed. Okay. Now, this is only the commissioners. Can we believe them? Well, we already know the answer to that question. But one of the things they said is they were complaining because, according to the commissioners, Gil Gilbertson and company were installing the radios, the new radios they got, in the mothballed cars. What? Instead of holding them out in some storage facility, at that point, they were complaining, we have it on tape. Tape, that tape means nothing. Yeah, right. But they were complaining that these, so the management of it, I'm not saying with this new sheriff, but it's not exactly like they've got a terrific record when it comes, and I want law enforcement, but does it mean they're infallible? No, it doesn't. And these are the kinds of things we need answers to. Oh, well, you can trust us, like we have in the past, really?
Yeah, the trust issue is really almost gone here in the county. It's unfortunate. They earned it, is the only real answer to that.
It's the top result
You
they
know,
got from their paid consultants. That trust is the biggest issue. This is why they said we don't want the commissioners involved. Too late, because it was Keith Heck that kicked this whole thing off. It wasn't some citizens panel of independent people that said we need. It was Keith Heck. We saw it. We have the tape from this summer. He was the one that kicked it off. And they go, oh no, that's not. Oh, you used to take all week to lie. Just argue with the videotape, okay?
Yep. Hey, the other thing someone brought up the other day I thought was very good. They said, okay, let's just assume they buy 16 brand new cars the first week. All right, how long do those last, by the way? And, you know, we don't know the duty life of a patrol car. I have heard that, and I think the sheriff has actually said, that the patrol cars in the city, which is not what we're talking about at all, that they keep those to 55,000 miles. Now, do they get rid of them that day? I don't know. But probably that's somewhere close to what they're considering their duty life.
Wow.
Really?
I say buy those. Yeah. Now that's you know, I have not talked to Bill Landis, and I would enjoy actually knowing the specifics of that. But that is what I have heard. So that is rumor.
Yeah.
It'd be, you know, here's the thing. They could improve their trust levels with this county if they would just give us some of this, even some of it. Hey, we need cars. Here's where we need them. Here's why we need them. We keep them this many years. And so, no, if a duty life is a year and a half or 2 years, that means they're going to buy 16 cars twice out of this levy.
Yeah. 16
none of us
brand new cars.
Brand new cars. Well, maybe we beat that to death. Let's go on.
That's a lot. Okay.
Okay. The next thing they say is, and for 9/11 dispatchers to increase sheriff's patrols and provide necessary emergency response. So as they get more people on the road, the dispatchers probably far more to do, and they're going to need more dispatchers. I don't disagree with that in any way. The issue that I have with that is it isn't clear at this point, and maybe they're not clear at this point, which would bother me a little bit more. The sheriff tells us publicly that he is exploring contracting 9/11 services. Okay, that doesn't mean he's going to, but he's exploring that. And he's also exploring combining both the county and the city 9/11 services. My hunch is anytime they combine things, somebody loses their job, not gains it. Right. I may be totally off on that. But when you hear I'm going to explore contracting and I'm going to explore city and county combining, how does that relate to these 4 new people? Is this the old plan, 4 new people? Is the new plan 4 new people? Is it for the contracting? Is it for city? We don't know any of this. Yeah. That's the problem. It's not that we're against having dispatchers, for heaven's sakes. We have to have dispatchers. We want dispatchers. We want really bright dispatchers. But we have to know something about this, and we do not.
Yeah, we have to understand the accounting going on.
Well, also, a number of people could look at this and they could think, like I'm starting to think, gosh, this is not really exactly the main point, guys. But the point is, how much thought has gone into this, or lack of thought? I mean, is this really thought through? And that's the question you need to ask yourself if you are going to vote to raise your property taxes. You want to know that people have made a plan that makes sense. It looks into the future. It's going to be 5 years if it passes. We think it won't pass. BadCounty.com predicts that it won't pass, but this is the kind of thinking that went into this, and so you need to evaluate, have they really done their homework on 4 911 dispatchers?
Yeah. It's and speaking of what you said, there's a lot of thought going into this. I number 3 on their initiative petition, I'll say that 5 times real fast. It said on number 3, allow the sheriff to enforce laws when individuals engage in illegal activities. And I'm thinking, did we ever stop that? Yeah. Are we not allowing him to? And does he need to start over again or something? No. I mean, isn't that the whole point of the sheriff's office?
This is really geared toward the low information voter there.
Well, maybe as Julie Thomas says,
some new voters, yes.
Maybe as Julie Thomas says, we're all taking advantage of the generosity of our community and not allowing the sheriff to do his job, and we need to have it in the language of a levy?
Yes,
Well,
yes.
that's inside baseball.
Right.
Sorry, it's kind of a ridiculous phrase.
Okay.
4 911 dispatchers, and then
Okay, I want to jump in here on increased patrols. And because it says they want to increase patrols to be able to react to criminal activity, of course we do. That, you know, responding to real criminal activity is part of how we keep this community safe, and of course we want that. I have a problem with what's going on, and that is, last year, and Dale, you can probably even come close to a date on this. I was not able to. I do remember the incident. The county commissioners gave the sheriff's office $522,000 allocated specifically to add additional patrol hours.
And look what happened.
And yeah, and so they were 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and everybody said, okay, that's a needed function, here we go. In January, the levy comes out. We hear about the levy, and we finally know about it. But in January, they cut back the 12 hours to 10 hours a day. At the same time, the levy says, we would like to increase patrol hours. Again, trust goes down. Don't tell me one thing and ask for another thing.
Well, now this is one of the things that some of the people on the we're going to call them not pro-levy side, Bill, poke,
Yes.
that some of the people there.
Not pro-levy side.
Yes, that some of the people there have said, oh, I know what's going on. I'm hoping they're wrong. They decreased it so that it will look like things are worse than they really need to be. Now, the reason why they would jump to that conclusion, and I like to think it's just jumping to a conclusion, is they've been burned on this before, and since we're not getting the information about why this was necessary, what's going on, or what's the future going to be, they jump to the worst possible conclusion, which is it was 12 hours a day, now it's 10 hours a day. Oh, now we're hurting more than ever. Now we really desperately need, I mean, for these folks, if you cut it down to 1 hour a day, why, that would prove that we need a levy. Okay, they're wrong. They're probably wrong. I like to think that they're wrong, but they jump to that conclusion because this kind of stuff just keeps happening as a kind of amazing coincidence.
Yeah, and again, it's a trust issue. I think if you're going to build trust, you have to, have that paste on your forehead every morning when you get up and think, when I say something, I'm trying to build trust here. How do you do that? You do it with transparency, telling and promise keeping. My favorite two lines.
Well, and where that hits the road, where that rubber hits the road is, one, we weren't always getting a lot of, if you don't know stuff, if some of this is new to you, there's a reason it's new to you, because you're not being told. But by us? You're being told by us, really? We researched it, and we're telling you. Why isn't the county telling you this? And the other one was, don't forget, the previous sheriff came to us, and he had a press conference, and he handed out pieces of paper where 9% of the homes have been broken into. That turned out to be a complete fabrication. And he kind of, crept back in, and he put it in the back of the Ann Basker while they were having a meeting. Here's the explanation. That's not true. He didn't even come before the public to explain. Nothing.
Hey, Dale.
Well, yeah, go.
You know what is the funny thing about this that I'm hearing you recall this situation, and it just makes you, after you see all these little things that they're doing to try to manipulate the passage of a levy, how much more believable does the story get about the riff between Simon Hare and Gil Gilbertson about the $500,000 removal from the sheriff's funding and then return?
That's right.
I mean, that just makes that ring that much truer now.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the whole problem. We're all trying to understand. We've all got busy lives. We crave any kind of open, transparent honesty about what's really going on. And I don't see what the downside to that is, unless there's something going on that shouldn't be.
Well, as Simon Hare just said on
Thursday, that's what we come into conclusion.
As Simon Hare just said on Thursday, quote, "These numbers don't mean much. These numbers don't mean much." And as Scott Draper and some of the others are saying, he's the head of the pro-levy movement, as those guys are saying, oh, well, let's not pay attention to the numbers. Let's not pay attention to the numbers? If you come to the county commissioners and you say, I'm going to put up one plaque and that's going to give us 90 full-time jobs, well, they look at the numbers. Now we don't look at the numbers?
Yeah, I know. Oh boy. Okay. Have we beat this up enough?
Yeah.
Move on?
Sure.
All right.
How many more we
the
got
next
to go?
one I want to touch on, at least briefly, and that's the jail beds, because they're asking for 160 jail beds, and this graph could be clearer. That is, it needs work, and it will have work. But this is the one that came up. The graph you're looking at, the easy way to say it is every county larger than us, and we're on the left side in the red. That's Josephine County. Every county larger than us, all the way up to Multnomah County, the largest in the state, have a as-built. In other words, when they built the facility, they had these per population for the jail beds. Okay. What it really means is that very few, some are, but several of them, I have no Multnomah, I have Lane, they are functioning at the low level, as is Josephine County. We're functioning anywhere, and I get the conflicting numbers here, from 120, 130, or 90. I've heard all three of those in a period of a month is what we're actually functioning at. Maybe it changes fairly often, I don't know. But we'll say it's 130. They want 160 as their new number. I was just up in Lane County and talked to a man who'd worked in their jail facility for 15 years as one of the deputies, and or corrections officers. I'm not sure exactly the terminology there, but we talked to him, and they had a 55-cent levy, and they got what they could that they realistically needed for more jail beds. And so they've been working really short-handed for about 3 years, just hand to mouth and all the time trying to make it all work. Finally got this 55-cent levy through and felt relaxed and so forth. All right, when I looked at their population ratio to the number of jail beds they have 1 jail bed per 1,000 people. Now that's functional jail beds. They own more than that. They have 502. They're using 365 or 364 jail beds. So that's right at 1 per 1,000. We're asking for almost 2 per 1,000. And I'm saying to myself, Lane County has worked in 356,000 people, and as we know, you add more people, you add more churn and crime and everything. So they're functioning in Lane County, feeling like they've gotten a real reprieve and they're doing really well at 1 jail bed per 1,000. We're asking for 2 jail beds per 1,000 at an 87,000 or 84,000 population. I don't know why. And again, no one's telling me reasons. Maybe we're renting out jail beds to someone else, and we need, they're increased their numbers, and we need to get more jail beds. I don't know the answer, but I've never heard any data or backup as to why we need, in a little county like this, that much more than a Lane County would need.
Okay, I can see the reaction to this among Levy supporters. We're saying, I'm not going to watch this show anymore. This happened to me when I was talking with the DA during the last levy. He came up to me and he says, "Why are you against the last levy?" And I started telling him, and this, and then they said this, but that's not true, and they also said this, and that's not true, and here's a couple of things, this is true, but that's not. And he started backing up from me like this was a real challenge. The DA, remember how busy he is? I don't have enough time to do my job, but he was out on a daily basis going door to door. That's how busy he was, trying to get people to pass this levy, the last levy, the one that failed also. They all have failed. And I could see it on his face. I see this occasionally from people. They're backing up like, oh, that's a real challenge. This jail beds one has got to be a real challenge to the pro-levy supporters. I don't want to hear that because it challenges everything they already know is true. Why, we're hurting for jail beds. We got to have jail beds. Without jail beds, we're all going to hell. You know what? Maybe not. And if we refuse to look at the numbers, then you're going to be stuck there forever, you guys.
Well, and you heard the recent story that we talked about where Chief Landis says, you know, we started doing things a little bit differently, and we thought we were, you know, running the wheels off the cars, taking people to jail. And what they were doing is they were concentrating on some of the more egregious offenders, and they were taking those guys to jail, and they actually ended up taking less people to jail and affecting the overall condition of things in a positive way. With less usage of jail beds.
And Mike, what was the one word that summed up what their main problem was?
Perception.
Exactly. That he even admitted that they had perceived that the problem was worse than it was. They had perceived that they were working harder than they were. They had perceived they're running the wheels off. These are his words. And as it turns out, I like the guy, but as it turns out, that's not true. How much of these things, I didn't know this about the jail beds. Who knew this? And why aren't we being told this?
And why not now, when they're being confronted with these facts, why are they not facing them and going, oh yeah, you know, you're kind of right. I mean, we just got an email from the chief today talking about these numbers of OSP, and I forget the exact acronym. It's a little thing where they've activated these crime investigation task force things, and that number has increased by 850% in the last couple of years.
Yeah, but all right,
yes.
You look at these numbers and you see, okay, it's going from 110, not this chart, but going from 110 to 115, and then going, and it's barely a blip on the chart. So I will tell you our personal experience. The number of people working at BadCounty.com has increased by 100%. How's that possible? Because there's 2 of us now. Okay? Yes. So there's a 100% increase in crime. No, 100% increase in information. Okay? So he sends us this chart, and I'm sure he's doing the best that he can, but it's got like 2, and then it jumps up to 4. That's a huge jump, and then it jumps up to 19. Yeah, but 2, 4, and 19 on the overall chart that you see right behind me here is nothing. And if you set them up next to each other, well, look at 2 versus 4. Why, look at that huge jump. And there's 19. It's off the edge of the screen. Yes, if you set it up that way, that's what I'm trying to say. If you take how many people used to work at BadCounty.com versus how many people there are now, why, it's a huge jump. It's 2 people. Look at the scale.
And I quickly ran out the numbers, by the way, Mike, on the OSP, and the last 10 years, the kind of the standard running thing is the OSP brings in or is responsible for 5% of what goes on in the county as far as crime. Okay. They've basically moved up 3% from their norm in your chart on is it 2012 or 13?
Yeah, I think it's 22. It goes from... It goes
11, 12,
2011,
13,
2012, 2013, I think.
Okay.
But keep in mind, hey, everybody, keep in mind here. Keep in mind what we're talking about here is we're not talking about it jumping from 2% to 4% to 19%. That's huge. We're talking about it jumping from 2 crimes to 4 crimes to 19 crimes.
Yes.
Really?
And here, let's even get a little bit more nitpicky about this. Since it only applies to where the OSP was picking up the slack for the sheriff in the county, it only applies to a little teeny percentage inside of that 20% that is the county share of the crime. So
yeah, exactly.
This is it's a minuscule thing, and we're supposed to look at that and go, oh wow, those numbers increased by 850%. Oh my gosh, you got me.
But it's running from 2 crimes to 4 crimes. It's not a crime wave.
Yeah, I just looked up, Dale, what we've got, and the 19 is against 7,360 crimes.
Oh, say that again. So, say it again. Say it again.
So the jump to 19. That 19 gets swallowed up in what we really report is 7,369 crimes for this is 2012, which is the last numbers I have for breakdown.
Brother, I know that he's
and
trying to do the best job that he can and that he's got a point of view. I like the guy. I really do. He's been on our show. I think he's a straight guy. But if you're jumping from 2 crimes to 4 crimes to 19 out of thousands, come on now. Who are you trying to fool?
Yes, but hang on a second. It's even worse than that because...
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, okay. The thing is that what they're doing. Hang on a second here. Let me.
Well, while he's looking that up, one of the questions I asked him when they were on our show is, who's fueling this perception? Well, the perception is reality. He actually said perception is reality. They don't have the facts and figures. And when they do give us the facts and figures, they say, oh, well, we were wrong. What?
Right. But now remember a couple of days ago when we were talking to Nate Gowiran.
Yes.
And you know, he was talking about he was going to increase his duties. He was going to take some duties from the OSP, and he was going to start doing. How do we know that this crime investigation task force or whatever the heck the little acronym is there? How do we know that they just didn't take over investigation into something, and that's why the increase is there? We don't know that that's you know, that they were always investigating all these particular types of crimes, and now all of a sudden there's so many more of those crimes. We don't know that.
See, the thing is, I want to believe everybody. I want to believe all these guys. But when we get this email from him, and I believe he's trying to be a good guy, okay? I believe at his heart he is a good guy. But we've got something, and it says two crimes. Jumps up to 4 crimes. Jumps up to 19 crimes, not percentage. You know, Bill? Either I'm misunderstanding.
does not an argument make.
You know, that's not exactly making his point.
Yeah, and I want to say, Bill, very clearly too, and I'm jumping on what you say about Bill Landis. You know, the city is a safe city in general. Yes, they have some property crime issues right now, but they have no property crime issues compared with 15 years ago. I mean, they are half of what they were at their height, and that's easily in our lifetime. We all made it through 1995. Oh, my God, how did we do that? Because down here he says, oh, crime's out of control. It isn't even close to out of control if you lived here since 95.
Yeah.
95, it must have been some sort of Holocaust.
But that's not what the Chamber of Commerce is saying. The Chamber of Commerce just came out saying, we're in favor of this levy. Now, wait a minute. They're yelling that things are worse than they've ever been in the history of mankind. No, wait a minute. Really?
Yeah, this here.
We're being huffed.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to put this up on the screen, and you can see here what it is. They talk about, this is in the email, and it's major crime team activations, which means homicides or violent assaults within the Josephine County for OSP detectives increased by 850% between 2011 and 2013.
Well, look how frightening this looks. It was frightening me when I first picked it up. And then I'm looking at it and going, that's really awful. And then you look at the numbers. The numbers along the left are, that's 2 crimes, 4 crimes, 19 crimes.
Okay,
hey,
but wait a minute. You also need a further definition of what a major crime team activation is. This is nebulous stuff here. I mean, it's very difficult to get a handle on. You don't know what this means, and I think it's intentionally vague or intentionally.
Well, we should put our graph up next to it with 1 person and 2 people, and then, you know, we'll blow this out of the water.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Anyway.
All right.
Anyway,
let's
so now,
how many more do we have to go?
We have juvenile justice. We are about 10 slides
away.
Yes, 10 slides away.
Okay.
We'll go faster. Juvenile justice. You know, this kind of touches on my heartstrings. Out of all the things, I think juvenile justice here in the county, if we can possibly get young people and lower our recidivism rate, that would be terrific. I'm all for that. What I don't understand and what they have put out as I believe propaganda is they closed the juvenile justice center. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, what is Goodwin doing? see him out and about and talking about, well, when we dig down into this, which they could have told us, the Juvenile Justice Center is open. What they shuttered was the housing of youth overnight. Mm. And there are currently 8 employees working at juvenile. These numbers are a year old. I would love corrections on these. They're hard to find in the internet otherwise. But juvenile justice, the thing I don't know, what are they going to get for juvenile justice? How much money is that going to take? So out of that $1.40, tell me the pennies to go to juvenile justice. You know something.
All right, so I'm sitting in the little back room with the commissioners, and anytime I see a commissioner start to blubber, I go, oh, please. Now, that's probably not fair, but we've seen Cheryl Walker do it, and she's talking about the children, oh, and she starts to get a little teary-eyed. Okay, look, don't use that on me. I'm immune to that kind of stuff, okay? So maybe I'm a bad guy. But the thing is that before that, I'm listening to this guy, and I kind of like this guy too. And he's saying, well, you know, what do we do with those kids? Because how many of you in the audience have heard there's no place for the kids to go? There's no place for them to go. No, that's not right. We are sending them to other counties. What do you mean we're sending them? Yeah, we're sending them to other counties. We are? We have the money to do that? Oh, yes. That's in the magical budget. What? Yes. Yeah, they're sending them to other counties. So the idea that they're sitting out on the sidewalk like one of those commercials with Sally Struthers where, look at these children, this is not right. Now, I'm not saying it's the most efficient, but it's in the budget.
Yes, but it's an effective advertising tool, and that's why you use that angle.
So now, Bill, what's happening with Kittens and Sunshine? Please tell us.
Yeah, they're all going black and dark, yes.
Okay. And so let's see here. This
well,
next one. What is?
And I want to make one point, because again, the bottom line of all of this, guys, and in the public, is trust. And every time we turn around, you can point to, and what I see written in the initiative petition is it says funding to reopen a juvenile justice center. It doesn't say the place we house them, but so okay. I now understand it's a shelter, but it says abused youth. It just never says children. But what do they do as soon as they put this together? They start using children. I don't really know what the numbers are that they use juvenile justice for, but I'm guessing they don't take in 5-year-olds. I'm guessing they don't take in 6-year-olds. I don't know where that line is. I'd like to know that line. I know nothing. They could tell me something. They're not saying a word.
Well, he's told the commissioners, okay, this is just what he told the commissioners, was that what this meant was these are Measure 11 felons. What? Yeah, these are young people that have done, well, I don't know, capital crimes, but Measure 11 offenses. These are big time, they're felons at a young age. So that's who you're talking about?
Yeah.
And it's not true, we have no place to put them.
Yeah.
Okay, and just in the interest of going to bed before midnight, let's move on to the next slide here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Those are prompt, Mike.
Yes.
Okay, create a better environment is one of the things they said. Create a better business and job environment by improving public safety in Josephine County. This one I disagree with very heavily because they got it backwards. What we need to do is improve economic development in this county, and you will find your property crimes will be affected.
Right.
Will they go to nothing? No, they'll never go to nothing. But right now what they're saying, let us get all of this taken care of, and then your economy can grow. Then your economy can, be safe. It's the other way around. You start growing our economy, and we will build our safeness. We will build a base for these people not to have to do, who are on the knife edge, doing things that some of them prefer not to do. Some of them love it. So I have a lot of problems with saying, wait till we do get our crime stats down. Our crime stats are lowest they've been. What in the world were they doing in '95?
Yeah. So once again, it's another blinding example of how government gets it wrong.
Yep.
Well, also, if you fund the people so that they grow economically, that's giving the money to the people. Government doesn't want to give us, this local government doesn't want to give us the money. They want us to give them the money.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, Citizens Oversight Committee.
Uh-huh.
We'll just do a quick on that. This has been their golden egg to ensure that everything else goes right. I think a citizens oversight committee is a good idea. I asked Scott Draper at a meeting, or someone else did. I was at the meeting. Scott Draper answered, the Citizens Oversight Committee has been selected. And everybody's like, what? So we don't know who they are. They still haven't let us know who they are. They are working on bylaws. I hear the bylaws are due to be out. I'll be anxious to see them. We don't know how they're going to be selected. We don't know how their authority is being recognized. We don't know anything about the bylaws as far as areas of representation. I hope that that's all what we believe it to be. But there's no teeth in that. They're going to suggest and say that they're going to watch and send letters to the editor if anything isn't the way they're absolutely promising today. But until we know more, a citizens oversight committee really means nothing. You tell me who's on it, I'll tell you what kind of a committee you've got.
Mike knows where these people are coming from because you said it to me, Mike. Where did these people come from?
Oh, I suspect that these are the same, the same inner circle people that have been involved in cuffs and SOS from the get-go.
And they said at a meeting that they come from all walks of life. And what they mean by that is they come from all walks of a certain club in town.
Yes, or something like
or
that.
Or all the sidewalks of a certain club in town.
Right. Yes. Here's the silly thing. I mean, what does anybody mean when they say all walks of life? Well, that conjures this image of diversity. That you got a little China guy, you got a little, you got a homeless person, you've got some guy who just came here from Guatemala, I mean, all of this stuff, and it really is not, it has nothing to do with how this thing is going to be laid out. These are people who are connected, and they're all going to do what they've all agreed to do.
And the other thing is, just like that club I was just talking about that has a secret membership list and it does all these wonderful things in town with a secret membership list, why is this list of people secret? How come they aren't out there talking to us about what they're going to do? Oh, come and join us. Let's talk now. Why do we have a secret list?
Yeah.
What's that about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and that's not even the good part. Now let's talk about the budgetary process.
Yeah, the budgetary process is, well, as everyone knows, and I think this word is out by now, it's just that there's never been anyone really going to bat for this money, but $900,000 goes for ISF, which is Internal Services Fund. It's basically taken off the top and goes into the general fund to be used as seen appropriate by the commissioners. And that's the first thing. The other thing is we're not talking about PERS. I personally have not done research into PERS to speak to the, you talk about dark numbers. There's some dark numbers for you on how that all happened.
That's for sure.
But we can shine some light on that. I have not done that research. I'm not really qualified to talk about it. I do know that if you go to the CAFRA for 14-15, that they're in the hole around $9 million right now. I don't know how they're planning to fund that or if they are or whatever. I know that when the Jobs Council came up and said they're $4 million in the hole and that we owe half of it, Heck's solution was, well, let's go bankrupt. Well, okay, that's the solution. But are they going to go bankrupt on the $9 million? I don't know what's going on with PERS, but I know PERS is big dollars.
On this thing right here, I know something about this because I sat right there and I've showed you tapes of how the commissioners are talking about how they want to spend the ISF. Boy, they're ready for this. Oh boy, that ISF is coming in, and this is where the commissioners spend it on their education, really. And yeah, well, they say they're getting educated, and their travel and this kind of stuff, and new carpeting here and there, that kind of stuff. But one of the bigger questions is when this money comes in, and we're talking about almost $1 million. Now it seems that it's a bit more. One of the questions is, and we don't have the answer yet, and we're going to have to do the research.
Isn't it almost $1 million annually?
Yes, sir.
Annually, yes.
Okay, and then the other question is, they tell us, they've said to us many times, this is required by state law. One, they never, ever can show us where that is. Okay, so if you knew where it was, you would have shown it to us several levies ago. We have to do this. We're required. No, you're not. Okay, we didn't used to do it that way. Also, here's another question for everybody. We're a home rule county. So what I did is I went to Wally Hicks, and Wally Hicks did put some effort in. And I said, Wally, I think there are 9 home rule counties. We're one of them. Do the other home rule counties, do they have an ISF, an Internal Services Fund? Are we the only one? He says, that's a good question. He did say that. So I just got an answer from him yesterday. We don't know. I can't get the information. I said, okay, so tell me the name of the 9 home rule counties. We're one of them. I will go do it. We're going to go do it. Now, let me ask you this question. Okay, BadCounty.com. We say that we're journalists and we're looking into it. Why the heck can't any of the paid people that we have and staffs and commissioners and $1 million worth of salaries in the Ann Basker Auditorium every time we go there, and they can't find out for us what the other, maybe they don't want to know, but we're going to get it for you, and then we're going to tell everybody. You know what their answer is going to be? I always tell this to Mike. Well, what do you think they're going to say, Dale? They're going to say, so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. They will.
End of issue. Well, but just to add a footnote to that, I went to Eve Arcey this last week and asked her that exact thing. Can you give me the ORS for the ISF funds? And she said no. She said, I don't have that. That would be not a treasury, but O'Hare would handle that in finance. If there is an ORS, he would know about it. I've not been to O'Hare to ask him that.
Well, he's already answered that. He doesn't know. Nobody knows, and the reason nobody knows is because it does not exist.
Yeah.
That's a Cheryl Walker made up, completely made up. We've seen it before. She's completely made up. She says, we're required by law. No, we're not. And I said to her in 2 public meetings, if it's required by law, just tell us where to find it.
Okay.
It's not.
So now let's move on to the O&C funding, and this chart starts back at about 1960, but it's illustrative of the O&C funding over the years.
Wow, couldn't you make a more complex chart, please? Jeez.
Yes, and by the way, this is not my chart. You can go on the internet to the assessor's office, and this is on their website.
It looks like my EKG.
I appreciate it. What's that?
It looks like my EKG.
It's someone's, I think. Okay,
Before and after the
blue
show.
line, the O&C funds, or the forestry fund tower, they're currently called rural schools, but they've gone through various iterations over the decades. But that is the money that comes in from out of the county, federal funds, to be used for various things, but primarily it's been used over the years for the sheriff, for security. You can see on the very bottom, the little red lines are our tax base changing. Now, right at the very center bottom, below the big high spike in the blue, there were no property taxes from let me see, I can't even read that from there.
It looks almost like between 1970 and 1980, no property tax.
That's everybody.
Yes,
that's way
1981.
underneath.
That's right. There were 11 years,
Underneath
1970 1981.
Underneath the C on O&C funding, and nobody can read this, but all that stuff underneath that C on O&C funding, that's where there were no property taxes at all. Okay, too late to cry about that.
Yeah, so that was there, and you can see why. They had good funding up there. But what's interesting is right after that happened, dropped in 1981, dropped all the way down, and what I'm hearing in the press right now is we've never been at this cliff before. This is the first time we lost our O&C. This was a terrible thing. No, in 1981 you were exactly where you were in 2012 and 2011. So yes, we've been there before. We had a levy of 25 cents and moved up to 32 cents over those next 10 years. But here we were there, and we also started out way back in the 70s with funding that was well below that. So we've been here before. Is that worth anything? No, it's history. But to cry wolf, cry wolf, cry wolf. We're now over here right at the very right-hand side, and you can see O&C funds are down mixed in with the not levy funds, but they're base funds.
But that 2014 projection is now invalid since we've had the funding been approved, and
absolutely, and we're headed for that slide.
Okay.
Yeah. So it gives you just an overview of how up and down the ONC funds have been over the years and how our tax base is. And I would strongly recommend, if you want to study this, it's available on the county site at assessor's office on the internet. That's where I got it. Okay.
And another question, Bill,
Sure.
is, okay, we're supplying this information. You are. We're putting it out there. Okay. You don't see this in the Courier. You're not going to see this on KJO. You're not seeing this in the multiple pro-Levy gatherings that they're having. Why are we the only ones showing any facts and figures, even from history? And then Simon Harris says the numbers don't mean much. Wait a second. The Courier has to know these numbers from the past. And if you want to know how honest or dishonest they are, they have said, well, this is the third levy in 3 years. They just recently said this is the fourth levy in 4 years. Hey, you know what? This is the ninth levy in 9 years. I mean, pick a number. This is the first levy in 1 year. Why do they keep telling us these bogus things?
I know.
Any guesses?
It goes on, and I find it interesting, and this is just a little history, is they voted a bond for the jail in '98. They built the jail between then and 2000. The jail opened. This new jail we have opened in 2000. They gave them a 1-year operating levy in 2000. They have never given them a single operating levy since for security. I feel that the people watched what happened to their bond levy turn into a jail and realized right then it was a boondoggle and they were being not told the truth. And then they said, you know what? We've had it. We're going to stop this whole thing. And they have so far. And who's at fault? Well, certainly not the commissioners are here now, but there were commissioners at fault at that point. The people, I think, went with them and said, okay, you get a new jail. We're going to give you a starting funding. And it was supposed to be self-sustaining. They were going to get fed monies and it would be fine. And the people said, you know what? You said it would be fine. It isn't. And you know, we're just going to say no from now on. So we've gone through 8. This is, we've gone through 7. This is number 8 since 2000. But they knocked down 2 before that.
As Keith Eck points out, he said, you know, if you'll all just trust us, if you'll all just put your faith in us, why everything's going to work. But we did that when Keith Eck said that we were editing his video to put words in his mouth. We did that when the commissioners say, oh, we're spending your money responsibly. Look, 214 full-time jobs. We did that when they're now saying we're not even going to tell you. The only reason you even know about this is because we're telling you, oh, well, there's going to be 90 jobs around one plaque. This is the way they manage your money, and they hate that. And now they've actually reverted to saying, you spend all week making up lies. No, you know what, bud? Yeah. All we do is spend time showing your videos.
Yeah, and a lot of truth there.
Okay, so
okay, where are we at on Mike?
Well,
we're about halfway through, Bill.
Yes.
We
were on the ONC funding slide. And and the next one
move beyond that
gives community support going forward options for people and alternatives and not necessarily totally alternatives but things that we're obviously going to have to rely on a bit more if we want better crime prevention, because regardless of how many deputies they put in the county, I think you were talking about at the presentation the other night that you would have to have 96 deputies in order to have the same sort of response time as they do in the city. However, they would have to be evenly distributed throughout the county and stay evenly distributed throughout the county in order for that to even take place. It's a pipe dream.
Now, fellas, yeah. I'm also going to beg you, please bring this in for a landing soon. I've got an axe, and I'm outside in front of the cockpit door, and I'm about ready to break it in.
Yes. Okay. All right. So, all right. Now we're at the did you know slide.
Yeah. Did you know? There's a variety. This is kind of a potpourri basket, I think, of several things. Do you have anything here you want to jump on, Mike or Dale?
Well, I I personally, I mean, the thing that jumps out to me is that PERS is in the whole $9 million in Josephine County. Now, how could that possibly be? We just passed a PERS bond around 2000, and just in case anybody doesn't understand what a PERS bond means, okay, they will tell you incessantly that oh, we're on a budget. We can't spend more. I mean, they just had Arthur O'Hare come in here the other day and tell us how, you know, the money that's in these budgets, they must balance. In other words, we can't spend more money than's there, and, you know, etc. But that is not true, because PERS only gets in the hole one way, and that's management has made promises to employees that their rear ends cannot keep, and so this requires deficit spending. Well, they don't call it deficit spending; they call it a PERS bond. And what they do is they mortgage a little piece of you and take out some money and give it to the PERS fund, and we haven't even paid off the last PERS bond, by the way. And now PERS is $9 million in the whole. How soon are you gonna be getting another one of these, people?
Well, I've got the answer for you, Mike. Just like this guy said from Gowrie. He says, well, the state used to handle this issue with the DUIs. The state used to handle it. Now we want to handle it. Hey, wait a minute. If we're in such financial straits, why are we handling anything new at all?
Right.
Yeah. I know. And it's almost coming faster than you can bat them out of the park anymore.
No.
That's true.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's good. I mean, you know, we always have, and I'm sorry that you know, we keep using only one example here, but it's a very current example, and that's Rosemary Pageant. She just quit work and made a 36% increase in her retirement by not working. So if you can make 136% by quitting, where you made 100% before, that is the absolute legacy of PERS.
Yeah, what an awesome gig.
Yeah, and so now is that true today? No, she probably had PERS a lot of years, and that would be early deal. But that is it's still killing the state, and it ekes out of our county too.
They can't even help themselves. They can't help themselves because the speech that she made the day or two before she left, she says, well, Arthur O'Hare is going to take over for me. You won't see any change in services. Why, it'll be exactly the same as it's always been. Well, okay, that sounds good, or good management. And by the way, you're going to save $50,000 a year because of the amount I was paid. Now, wait a minute. If you stop and just think about that for a second, we're going to get exactly the same. Oh, yes, you are. The same services for $50,000 less. That's right. Well, Rosemary, you should have retired 5 years ago.
Yes.
That's $250,000.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, it's crazy.
They can't help it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so we're at the breaking news slide with Greg Walden here, where Greg Walden secures a 2-year extension of the Secure Rural Schools funding for schools and counties of $4.6 million.
Yep, and that some people will tell you, oh, I saw that coming. It always happens. They did it. I had other people that tell me, if that happens, I will vote no, but right now I'm voting yes. And so has the check arrived? No, the check hasn't arrived, but it did move through very well. You can rest assured there's groups of people watching this. Right on top of that, the next day, on top of the 4.6, Cheryl comes out and says, okay, we get also to keep the money from our timber sales, BLM says this year. And behind the scenes, what I didn't realize, or really carefully, was they already had gotten the money and put it in the bank. When they were going to announce it, I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
But, yeah, that's a 2.170, and I don't know whether they got the money and put it in the bank or had it in the bank and didn't have to pay it. That seems to be unclear. But it wasn't like they're going to cut a check and send it down to us, was the impression.
So
we have
pretty close to $7
million coming up.
Okay, so why should you feel good about voting no on the levy. Why should you feel good? Number one, you're part of a winning team that's always won this battle. We are the undisputed champions of winning this vote for a decade. You're on the winning side. You somehow got the other guys convincing you that you're the losers. You're not the losers. We're the winners. And you've decided on a cost-benefit analysis, oh, they're always losers. No, no, no. We've decided for ourselves what we want to spend the money on. And if we don't want to spend it on a juvenile shelter that's got all, well, then that's the decision. And want to spend it on pets, okay, that's the decision. They are the voters. This is America. And our vote should count for something. Stop telling us our vote counts for nothing. Okay, that's one. Number two is, this is not the ideal solution, and maybe we can come up with a better one. You know that Cuffs and SOS and whatever they're going to call themselves next year, they're already planning on the next one because they will not take no for an answer. This is a lot like if your niece is dating some guy and he says, I want to take you to bed. No. Well, no, I want to take you to bed, and I've spent $25,000 on a poll saying you've got to go to bed with me. No, you don't understand. You're not educated. You don't know what you want. Your perception is all wrong. You got to go to bed. Hey, no means no. We told you no. And we mean no.
Wow, that's a new one, Dale. I haven't heard that one yet.
Dale, I gotta do a little applaud right there.
Yeah.
That's creative journalism right there.
Creative journalism. No, it's not journalism, but it is at least a different perspective on this thing. You are the winners. You should feel good because we've got the money. We've got 2 years for these lunkheads to figure out a better way of doing it. It better drop the ISF for the sheriff. No, we're not required to do so. Do not accept this lie. We have to do the ISF. No, you don't. You know who says we have to do the ISF? Guess who? The commissioners say, because they've got plans for that money. How are they going to go traveling? How's Simon Hare going to get his next job if he's not in Washington, D.C., and then coming back and say, well, nothing happened. You watch Simon Hare. Because he went off to D.C. and he came back and he was despondent. Well, it looks like nothing's going to happen. And then it happens. You know what's going to happen next? Well, I was instrumental in that. No, you weren't. You told us nothing happened. Drop your memberships in these organizations. Well, we have to be there or we'll be on the menu. You know what? You just tell all the rest of the country, well, we have to look good in front. You know, that's just your ego, Simon. Let's drop our memberships in these goofy organizations. Well, we got to spend $75,000. No, we don't. Just say to them, sorry, we can't afford it. We're going to spend all our money at home. We're going to stop spending money on plaques. We're going to start spending money on businesses. We're going to start being, you know, the first thing to do, very positive suggestion for our county, get rid of these 3 commissioners.
Yeah.
Now, well, that was a you needed a, did you get up on a soapbox? That was terrific. Okay.
Yes.
I liked it, Dale. I liked it.
Now, Bill, you have at least one upcoming tax levy citizen forum already scheduled, and that's in Cape Junction on April 14th.
Yes. And thank you so much, Mike. I would have gone by that. April 14th at Wild River Pizza.
Right.
What day of the week is that? That's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
And it's 6:30 to 8:30, by the way, and you have pending plans for Williams, Sunny Valley, and Merlin.
We do. We have people we're working with right now with Williams getting a venue and Sunny Valley getting a venue, and Merlin will be the next thing on my to-do list this next week.
Now, we here at BadCounty.com are promoting the concept of couch potatoes because you don't have to go to these things. Of course, they want you there, and you have to vote. I mean, if you don't vote, then none of this is going to mean anything, okay? We won't get any federal money if you don't vote. That's not true, but it sounds good, right? And so the thing is that if you want to find out what's happening, we'll let you know to the best of our ability, and if there's anything at all that's lacking, like Bill's not making any sense again, then we'll invite him to come on to try to explain to everybody what the heck it is that he's talking about with really complex charts that nobody can figure out. I mean, you know, explain it to you in everyday English. Well, good luck with that too, Bill.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you for the compliment.
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone have anything further to say, or does anyone want to take us out of this program? Finally, anyone want to say goodbye? I do.
Yeah, me too.
I do.
All right. Well,
Good night.
then everybody, goodbye.